Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I hope you're having a great day in Jesus. Thanks for being here with us. We're looking at the Urtext, or the Urtext. And let me explain what that is. It's like like the city of where Abraham's from. Just reading this from the internet, Wikipedia, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit. In biblical studies, the Urtext is the theorized original uniform text of the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, preceding both the Septuagint and the Masoretic text. Since the 19th century, there's been much scholarly work to regain this Urtext. The theory that there was an Urtext was advocated by Paul de Lagarde. Today, it is disputed that there was ever such a uniform text. And so it's got a reference from the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia by Bromley. That's the second. That's like the new ISB. I like the old ISB with James Orr. It's excellent. And so then it's got this little like chart that you can look up. I don't think it'd show up real well on the internet. The interrelationship between the various significant ancient manuscripts of the Old Testament, some identified by their siglum. The lowermost lost text would be the Urtext. So it's got lost, Septuagint, and then what comes from the Septuagint is the Lucian, Hezekias, like the Hezekian recension, so-called, the Hexaplar, Aleph, B, Alexandrinus, Theodotion. This would all be from Origen's Hexapla, and the Philocynian. And then on another way, you'd have Symmachus, the Vulgate, Aquila, Onkelos. So lost, Masoretic text. And going kind of both directions would be the Peshitta and the Sahidic. And then the Heraclean would be going through the Septuagint. So basically it's saying, okay, this was the lost text. Now, lot to unpack here. I believe in biblical preservation. I believe the Bible itself talks about biblical preservation. I think just logically, you have to say that inspiration without preservation is nonsensical. And I also think that if you, in textual criticism, if the goal of textual criticism is to restore that which was lost, then you're saying you do not have a perfect Bible or anything close to a perfect Bible, that we're still trying to restore a text. It's a text in flux. So it's nothing settled forever. It's nothing that we have access to. It's some scraps of paper here or there, and you can kind of say whatever you want it to say, depending on translation, depending on Septuagint, depending on whatever. And so the fascinating thing about the Urtext, or the Urtext, is it goes back to the Rabbinical Debate, which is a very real debate, on whether when God gave the word to Moses there on Mount Sinai, and in that time period, I would think 1491, 1492, others say 1446, 1445, and then the 40-year wandering thereafter, depending on the time period. Was that in what we see as modern Hebrew, which we don't have any examples of that for, let's see, I don't even know, in the 2nd century BC, I'm thinking. Or would it be in what we call Paleo Hebrew, which most thinking says you had Paleo Hebrew, which is what Hezekiah's tunnel is in, which is what the Ketef Hinnom silver scrolls are in from the 600 BC era. And the oldest writings, the oldest Hebrew writings we have are with, I'm thinking of the little schoolboys, agricultural writings and all this. And then they've just recently found something older that are all what's known as Paleo Hebrew, which obviously came from Canaanite, and there's a lot of good speculation. There's a scholar up, I think he's the University of Vancouver, that would say that it was Joseph and Manasseh that gave us the first 22-letter alphabet from hieroglyphics, and that's where Paleo Hebrew came from. And then Ezra would have switched Paleo Hebrew to kind of this mixture of Paleo Hebrew and Aramaic to give us what we call Biblical Hebrew today. But still a ton of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I've done videos on this, the percentages and all. You can actually, I think, look it up on Wikipedia. The percentages are in Paleo Hebrew. There's quite a large percentage. And many of them that are in Biblical Hebrew, that the name of God is still Paleo Hebrew. And the Samaritan Pentateuch is still in Paleo Hebrew, which there's a lot of debate. I've done Biblical Archaeology Today podcast on the Samaritan Pentateuch and all this. I may have done some videos on that. I don't remember. But so the Urtext is basically, okay, here's the original text. It's lost. Let's try to figure it out. And I would say God used Ezra to bring all that into any Paleo Hebrew into what we now know as Biblical Hebrew, and it was accurately translated. And I think it was Josephus I was reading, I forget, but it may have been Edersheim. They said in like Solomon's temple, you had 3 different exemplars of the Bible that was kept in the side of the Ark of the Covenant, so that could only be accessed, once a year. But the exemplars, and this is the reason the such a prohibition against false prophets, because he said, "Thus saith the Lord," you're corrupting the Bible. God's going to protect His Bible. At least in that, as we understand, He didn't protect it all throughout the ages in every copy, on and so forth. You don't need to get me on a caveat there. Sometimes I just assume people know nuances and caveats, and the whole world's not in gotcha mode. But maybe the whole world is in gotcha mode, because it said many would be offended in the end time. So one of two things, and this is the rabbis, and they have it right. Either God gave it in Biblical Hebrew, it was lost, translated in Paleo Hebrew, and Ezra restored it, or it was given in Paleo Hebrew, and Ezra made it into Biblical Hebrew, and it was perfect. But the Urtext itself, I don't know that it would ever be found. It's like the autographs of the New Testament. We don't have that, but we know we have substantially the New Testament. I know I've got the perfect New Testament and the Old Testament as well. There has to be an element of faith in this. I know, like Theodore Lettuce, I really like a lot of what he has to say on that subject, and others. So that's what the Urtext is what did the original look like? What did it look like for hundreds of years from the time of Moses till the time of Ezra? So God bless. I pray you like this. Put it on social media, and we'll talk with you later. Join us daily. Listen to all our videos, and love you. God bless. Bye-bye.